being able to show in real time what's going on in the body and explain what's going on, it creates a dialogue and strengthen that patient-doctor relationship.
Good day, everyone, and welcome to the 16th session of UPM SILab's webinar series IOL 101 2025 to present the topic Bridging Diagnostic Gaps, Integrating Point-of-Care Ultrasound or POCUS and AI into Human Workflows. Join me, let us virtually welcome Dr. Mena Ramos.
Good afternoon. I am Dr. Mena Ramos. Universal healthcare that's efficient, equitable, fairly financed, and utilized by the word public is in fact possible with technology augmented by AI that strengthens healthcare delivery based on trust and humility. Now, by way of overview, I'll first start by addressing this diagnostic gap and then introduce POCUS as well as challenges to integration with AI and conclude with the importance of trust and epistemic humility. Approximately half of the world still doesn't have basic access to medical imaging. Why point-of-care ultrasound? Why POCUS? Of all the kinds of interventions in medicine, why this one specific? Fast forward with the evolution of technology in medicine, ultrasounds, they used to be much bigger, but they've gotten smaller and more miniaturized. So in the way computers have become more miniaturized in the form of laptops and now smartphones, ultrasounds have become more portable and accessible through these miniaturized devices. When we think about POCUS, what comes to mind is a portable ultrasound. However, but it's actually a workflow, is essentially a re-engineering of what was once a very multi-step process. So now imagine a much more streamlined workflow that is accelerated or made more possible with portable imaging that is connected to the internet and do what's called a point-of-care exam, where now imagine now you show up to see your doctor and that person can show you what's happening in your body and give you an answer, or at least narrow down the possibilities right then and there. We see now this possibility of a streamlined workflow that's very much human-centered, much faster, and much more cost-effectively. And the other amazing thing about POCUS is that it has so many different use cases. I think you might be thinking, why isn't everyone already doing it? Why hasn't it already become standard of care? I think the answer is it's multifactorial, but like any new technology, there are always barriers to adoption. This was a paper that I co-wrote on POCUS in resource-limited settings. And we summarized several of these barriers to adoption, and I like to kind of frame them in a simple way: people, process, and products. These are all medical societies that have already issued position statements in support of POCUS for a specific scope within that medical specialty. So we can see that the medical education and training pipeline has already moved towards incorporating POCUS into the medical workflow and the clinical exam. And the team at GUSI has worked diligently to develop a POCUS ecosystem in order to bring clinicians, physicians together in an environment or a digital environment that can facilitate both teaching and training, quality assurance, longitudinal support, and collaboration. So let's now kind of introduce AI as an augmentation of a existing technology that can further enhance POCUS within human workflows. So there are AI features that assist with interpretation and image acquisition that can aid the healthcare professional. If you have limited to no training, it can be an assist, but AI doesn't completely address all the elements of the workflow. There are challenges towards its safe and ethical implementation that we all have to be aware of. In terms of AI recommendations, in terms and direction where we should go for research, there's still lots of methodological gaps and the need for AI POCUS validation, especially within specific contexts. Data sets are not always used to train on within the same population wherein AI is being used. That runs the risk of deepening bias and inequity. The power of POCUS with AI is not necessarily a one-size-fits-all. Now, when looking at clinicians, comprehensive training, even with AI, we need to learn how to use AI, how to ask the right questions, how to be able to maintain some degree of clinical oversight for AI-assisted decisions. How do we know how to use the tools to improve patient care? We look at health systems, implementation frameworks, policies for AI governance and accountability. So the need to build trust is very, very important in order to get adoption. The new tool, with or without AI, why is trust and humility important when we're talking about POCUS and AI? So there's something about ultrasound which creates a dialogue between two people, which bridges understanding and connection. Seeing is believing, and ultrasound as a modality, being able to show in real time what's going on in the body and explain what's going on, it creates a dialogue and strengthen that patient-doctor relationship. And if we look at healthcare professionals and patients and health systems and where they overlap, that disconnection and lack of dialogue and lack of trust are critical elements to being able to effectively and safely incorporate any kind of new technology or workflow that has the potential to improve quality of care. As we conclude, I'm kind of coming back to the key takeaway: universal healthcare that's efficient and equitable, fairly financed, and utilized by an empowered public is indeed possible with POCUS, augmented by AI, especially when based on trust and within the framework of humility.
And that brings us to the end of today's session, Bridging Diagnostic Gaps, Integrating Point-of-Care Ultrasound and AI into Human Workflow. Once again, thank you, Dr. Mena Ramos, and to all of you. This is JRP. I'll see you next week. Thank you. Bye.